good day, everyone.
Hello, everybody.
It's your favorite coaches.
This is Howard.
And LaRonda Johnson.
It's his.
Plus hers equals ours.
Back once again. We really appreciate y'all for joining us for another episode of His Plus Hers Equals Ours. This week, we had a lot of response from last week's topic, but a lot of the response that we had was about the roles, gender roles, and the roles that men and women play in a marriage or in a relationship. So we were asked to expound upon that a little bit more this week.
So gender roles, and we've said this before, is that we don't necessarily go by gender roles. It's like we work together. We do everything together. We work, we assist, we're in there together. We discipline the kids together. We do life together. This is what we do. And this is what works best for us. Some, relationships, some households, some marriages, you may feel like the man is supposed to take the role, or the man feel like he should take the role. Maybe the wife stays at home while the husband work. Some of the old school traditional stuff or Southern type, traditions. But
it ain't always just Southern.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like 60s, 70s, even earlier way of thinking that the woman is supposed to be in the house, cooking, cleaning, doing laundry and other stuff, when realistically that's very chauvinistic, may I say?
Or what they would say, like barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen cooking. Like, nah, not gonna happen. Not like all the time. Not for me. Anyway, not for me. But I mean, I don't, there was times I was pregnant. we do have 4 children.
And
I was in the
barefoot.
kitchen. Yeah, because I ain't wearing no house shoes and no socks.
Because her feet was burning up. I remember she would be like, oh, it feels so good on the cold floor. Yeah, I remember all that. But through all those times, we also, it's like a tennis match, so to speak. She hits the ball, volley into my court, and then I'll hit it back. So we're there not competing, but we're there basically volleying things that need to be done back and forth. Like, you got this week, or I got this that week, or today or tomorrow we'll switch and I'll take the kitchen and you take the living room. But it's working together. It's being a team. And you also see nowadays where you have stay-at-home dads.
Yes.
I've never in my life thought about being a stay-at-home dad. Never wanted to, never really gave it too much thought. I was raised in a 2-parent home where both of my parents worked. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times they worked 2 jobs, both of them. So it was like, wow, like there was a whole lot of stuff going on that I seen that was different than, even some of my cousins or, other people that I had known, some of my friends, where their dad worked outside of the home, but the mom took care of the home. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, we've been in positions where we would work outside of the home together, come home around the same time, be in the kitchen cooking, cleaning, doing laundry, playing music, dancing, having fun. And then there was times that neither one of us wanted to do it, and the whole lot didn't get done.
No. But there's also been times where, where you were in between a job, mm-hmm. and he realized that it's hard work staying at home, because I was at home and I was going to school full time. So at that moment, it was like, oh, babe, go ahead and focus on school, do your homework, do what you need to do. And I'm like, okay, cool. So he was taking the kids to sports, dropping them off here, therapy, all these different things. And he didn't realize that it is hard work being at home with kids.
I didn't flinch though.
No, he didn't. But then he was just like, you know what? I'm going to really have to push harder, trying to find another job while I'm in between, because this right here, it's a lot of work. I'm like, yes, getting them out the car. And then, mind you, at the time we had 3 kids that were back to back. So when you got 3 car seats, you got 3 little kids, and they going all different places, and then they crying, they want snacks, they got backpacks, they got books, they got everything, okay? So it's hard work. So he realized, like, it wasn't that I'm just at home, maybe cleaning up at the last minute or not cleaning up at all because I don't feel like cleaning up because I've been cleaning up all day. You know, he realized that it is hard work staying at home with the kids and holding down the house. It is a job of its own. And when they're sick, you know, you're still up with them. So whether you like my husband said, you got stay-at-home dads now, maybe because the wife make a little more money and maybe she carries the insurance, because you know what, childcare is expensive, very expensive. It's like having a whole nother car note or a house payment, some rent. It
Definitely
is
a rent payment for sure.
Ridiculous. So sometimes you do have to make that decision. Like, is it cheaper for one of the parents to stay home versus give our money to a facility or a center to teach our kids the half of the stuff that we can teach, or majority, or even better? You know, you don't have to worry about so many other things. But as far as gender roles in our house, we didn't do that. We don't do that with our kids. Even at times, I can even say that when it came to chores, like, we would put our name on the board too, as far as chores, you know, to help out, or when the kids are doing other stuff, just to make sure everybody has something to do.
And not just making sure everybody has something to do. We needed to make sure everything got done. So, you know, what are the gender roles in your house? Do you have gender roles, or are you unified? I've been seeing a lot of stuff on social media where they're talking about is men and women saying that men should provide and women should assist. Mm-hmm. Well, you know, I kind of take a look at that in the aspect of a basketball game. The point guard is the one who dribbles the ball down to the other end of the court, and he usually gets the most assists of the game because he's passing it off to whoever is the top scorer, and sometimes they are the top scorer themselves, and they take shots along, you know what I'm saying, with everybody else. But it's still a team. Yeah. So you have everybody that plays a role on the team. Sometimes she's the point guard. Sometimes I'm the point guard and the center because I'm the big dude. So, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes I got to dunk some things, you know. But, I mean, you know, regardless of how it goes, you know, I have some friends that have that old mindset of, like my wife said, barefoot, pregnant, in the kitchen, stay home, I got this, just all you got to do is take care of the house. Well, I've also seen statistics and, you know, articles about stay-at-home moms. Realistically, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm really just throwing this number out there, the average stay-at-home mom would make around $60,000 a year because of all the things that she has to do. Likewise with stay-at-home dads, there's a lot of stuff that has to be done, mm-hmm. and, you know, prioritizing that is it's a job in itself. But the beautiful thing about it is, like with us, is that, you know, we prioritize it by, you know, who has this room this day, who has this day. We all tackle certain things at the same time in order to make sure that everybody feels that everybody's giving to the household. You know, a lot of people pay their kids to do chores.
Not here.
Like,
you know, when they were little though, we did. It was like, I think for me, it was more so like I wanted that as a kid. So I started that with our kids. Like, yes, like you can get money for doing chores, like cleaning your room, picking up stuff in the living room. And I started thinking like, wait a minute. First of all, okay, the money was adding up because you got three kids back to back, or we got 3 kids back to back. Mm-hmm. It started adding up. Then I started thinking, why are we paying y'all to clean your room? And that's your mess. Why are we paying you all to pick up your toys, your books?
Or do dishes.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I'm saying? Cleaning the kitchen seemed to be an all-day event.
Yeah.
And I never understood that because being a chef, like, you know, I'm in the kitchen all day. We know how to run through some stuff real quick. We know how to dirty it up real quick, clean it real quick, and be done. So, like, I try to show my kids along the way, like, look, it does not take this time, but you're so bogged down with what you don't want to do mentally, mm-hmm. that you can't physically put yourself in a position to be like, oh, this is a piece of cake. This is easy. But see, now when I was growing up, if my dad told us to do the kitchen, I dare you to have something dirty. I dare you. I double dog dare you to have something dirty because you're going to wash everything in the kitchen.
Yeah, my mom was like that too. She was like everything at the counter, everything, the dish, the spoons and forks, she's just dumping it in there.
What happens if you don't do it though?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. It wasn't about that. No, it wasn't about that. It was either do it at a certain time, like you got a time frame, and you better make sure it's good and clean. But that was how we was raised too. It was like we didn't have gender roles. It was you do this, you do that. Now with certain stuff like us girls were more responsible for doing, maybe like taking care of the younger kids and things like that. But this is a conversation that needs to happen at the beginning of your relationship. Don't wait until you get married or move in with that person and they already telling you, okay, you like, oh, he's such a gentleman. And you're like, oh yes, oh my gosh, you're telling your friends, your girls like, oh my gosh, he pulls out the seat for me. Oh my goodness, he pays for dinner, he takes me out, he wines and dines me, he opened up the car door, he's such a gentleman. And it's like, oh my gosh, but did you hear him say he wants you at home and that's not what you want to do? So when you move in with them or either get married, now you in full shock like, wait a minute, I'm trying to go to work. I want my own money. I want my own car, my own bank account. And it's like, no. What I want you to do as my wife, as my woman, is to stay home, whether you got kids or not. Is that some men feel like I am the provider. I'm supposed to be the provider. So I am the one that's supposed to go out and make the money and you stay home and take care of the house or do whatever that you want to do or feel that you need to do. Maybe he wants you to be at home cooking like three meals, like breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And you like, if you like me and you don't really like to cook, and you like, wait a minute, you got to try to figure that out. Communication.
But there are some women who do not mind that role.
Yes.
There are some women who feel very comfortable in that role. And it's like, okay, I got this. I control that. And that's the thing. You go get that money and I will make sure that everything here is good.
Yes.
Some men don't really care for that. And they're like, well, why don't you go get a job? Am I not taking care of you? But see, this is the thing. You have to look at the trade-off. A lot of times, I know some people who, they wife fix some breakfast, pack their lunch, fix the kids their lunch during the middle of the day. If they got small kids, put them down for a nap. They take their time to themselves with some bonbons and some wine or whatever it may be. And then they kick it back into gear when the kids get up, husband comes home, they already got dinner. Like there's something phenomenal about a woman that can actually do that. But there's also something phenomenal about a man that can do that, but the thing is, it doesn't make you any less phenomenal of a person if you can't control everything like that. Obviously, there's only one thing in life that you can actually control. That's you. If you can control you, by the way. But then everything else is a variable. You never know what's actually going to happen until it happens. Of course, you can steer things, but yet and still, when it comes to making sure that everything is taken care of, it's so much easier when you have somebody that you can rely on, when you feel like you have a partner, when you feel like, because even those people who don't mind doing those things get fed up every once in a while. It's just like you going to your job, where sometimes you go into work and you're like, oh, right. Like really? And you don't want to be there. You don't want to work. Sometimes even if you own your own business, you might have what you call a lazy day, but what it boils down to is that's the same feeling that someone who has that stay-at-home role, if that is the role, they have. Or sometimes you run into the like, I'm doing more than you, even though we both work work type issue. Like I've seen that, and that can get pretty ugly.
And that can be a lot of times that falls into a category too of maybe the man is doing more manual labor work versus the woman may be at a desk, and they feel like, oh, I'm doing more work than you because I'm more hands-on, and you sitting there at the computer typing all day. But mental work is crazy. You know, when you're thinking about stuff all day, adding up numbers, whatever it is, in and out of meetings, this and that. But it's all about balance. When you find that balance, as my husband said, there are some women that don't mind. Like they want to stay home, and it's okay with the spouse or with the significant other, is that is something that you talked about. Like, that is my dream thing. Like, oh my gosh, to stay at home. And some people, that's what they were called to do, okay? Is to stay home, manage the house, be an accountant, be a psychologist, like all those different things, a housekeeper, a butler. Like you are all these things when you're at home and you taking care of house, whether you have children or not, because you're catering to your spouse or your significant other and then your children. But it's rewarding at the end of the day. You know, once you had that conversation, you had that balance. So it makes it so much more easier to be able to play the role or the title that you have that you all agreed on. And see, when you don't have that agreement, that's where the issue come in. But as my husband said, sometimes you do have those days where it's like, you know, like sometimes you got to dress up every day. And sometimes you're like, man, I wish I could take this suit off and just throw on some sweats or some jeans and a shirt and just kick back. Sometimes you're like that even when you stay at home. You want to just throw on some sweats. You don't feel like being cute and being dolled up. Sometimes you just were like, it's a bum day today. I'm just going to bum out today. But you have to make sure this is something that you really want to do. Don't try to, you know, there's certain things that we talked about that you can compromise on. But when there are certain things you do not compromise on, because it's going to make it so much harder for the foundation of your relationship to be strong and firm.
At the end of the day, you have to be truthful about what you really want out of life. What you're willing to compromise on, what you're not willing to compromise on, because you know there's always conflict somewhere, but it does not have to be in your marriage. You know, not to say that won't happen, but because obviously that you're not going to always see eye to eye, but there's easier ways to handle that conflict. Being truthful and upfront is one of the main ways, because you don't want to be put in a position that you do not want to be in. So this is like my wife said at the beginning of the relationship, when you're talking, and you know, if some guy tells you, ladies, hey, you know, I was raised old school, you know, man, go outside and work, and you working on your degree, you know what I'm saying? But he trying to have you at home, and you literally, you know what I'm saying, going to get your bachelor's and then you going back to get your master's. What you gonna do with it? Just sit it on the shelf and stare at it, dust it off every once in a while? No, because you worked hard for that. And that's something that you have put into motion and into play for yourself. But when you join with someone, you make sure that they understand like your dreams and your goals as far as like being an individual. Like we've talked about it before, about still having your individuality within the side of the relationship, because you don't want to be Aunt Jemima or what's the mom from the Brady Bunch or the Partridge Family, whatever it is. You don't want to be that. You know what I'm saying? And that's something that is very scripted, because it's television. Life is not television. Reality TV is not real. It's just something that is shown on television. And when it comes to your life, don't try to play a role. Don't try to script it out like that. Because the thing is that I'm an individual, she's an individual. And we bring our individual personalities into a relationship where we should be able to feed off of each other and flow well with each other. It's like she said, a balance, and we've talked about balance before, but make sure that you're telling the truth. Because you know what? After the experience that I had when I was not working, I'm at home, like she said, taking care of the kids and running them here and there. Yeah, I need a job ASAP. Like, please, by all means, can somebody please? And I took a lower paying job than what I would normally take, literally just to have a job. I did, and then I ended up getting 2 jobs, right, because I was like, that's not enough, so we're just gonna go ahead and pick up on another job. So it kept me really busy. But there were times in our relationship, like when she went to school, that even though I was working a lot, I needed to pick up the pace, so to speak, or pick up some more of the responsibility in order to make sure that she could have some freedom in her mind to be able to advance. And that's the thing, like, if you want to advance, make sure that you're supporting your spouse. Even if one day, let's say she's happy being a stay-at-home mom, but she decides that, hey, I want to do this, or I want to go get a degree, or I want to start this business, be supportive. Don't hold them back, wife or husband, when, it's just about watching each other and helping each other grow.
Yeah, grow and build. You not only are you building upon the foundation of your relationship, but you building upon your spouse. Like, you building them up. You are allowing them to be who they are, to fulfill their dreams, their goals in life. And you don't want them to be sad and just frustrated and have regrets. Like, I wish I would have did this. I wish I would have done that. I wish. Because when
couldas of life.
Yeah, because when that happens, when you stifle your spouse's dreams and goals, then that D word, divorce, comes up, and it's like, wait a minute, what? Even if you don't say it verbally, you may be thinking it, like, oh my gosh, then have resentment. So then you're thinking like, okay, he hold me back, she hold me back from doing what I want to do, because initially I agreed to stay home and be this stay-at-home mom, or play this role, or for my spouse or for my significant other, because this is what they wanted. And it's like, no, as my husband said, being honest, but not just being honest to the other person, but being honest with yourself.
Right.
Like, are you really, really ready to commit to doing something that you really didn't want to do? But just because they're a nice guy, or she's a beautiful woman, intelligent and all this other stuff, it's like,
yes,
you can't. It's like, that is something that you don't want to compromise on, because then you start have resentment for the relationship, right. Everything, all that start, like my husband says, like snowballing. And then it's just more issues, then conflict happen. Then it's harder for you all to come back to where you need to be as far as accomplishing goals as a couple, when you're starting to divide and starting to separate because of not having that understanding, being honest with yourself and being honest with each other.
See, like, I look at my wife's family, like, when we first met, like, her mom was completely the dominant one. And I mean, there were times that I was in her house and I'm like, I don't know if I should be speaking right now. Like, it's just, she had a very strong presence about her. And she had a very domineering presence, because she can control things and she knew how she wanted them to go.
Yeah.
And, in certain relationships, that is a good thing, because if like, okay, so I wasn't always good with money. And, I have very expensive taste. So my wife, obviously, she's like, yo, bro, like, what do you think you're doing? Like, we need money for this, this, and this. After these bills pay, then you can go buy something. But until then, I'm gonna need you to hand over that check.
It was a conversation though. It really wasn't like that. But it was a conversation that we had, because then it was like, okay, He have his individual spending money.
At
I have
first,
mine. Yeah.
I was not having that. Like,
Yeah.
I was very against it. But then I started realizing that she wasn't trying to keep me from having money in my pocket. She was just trying to make sure everything was paid.
Right. I mean, with him being the sole provider at that time, it was like he said, he was kind of like, like, I'm going to work and you think you about to just get my check or just have this talking about give me your check and I'm gonna give you this and you take that, and it was like, no. But then as we had to have this conversation again a couple times about this,
Until I saw it actually in motion.
because what I had to do is just start taking a little money and start putting it to the side, and so he started to like figure out like, how are you able to do this and do that? Or how are we able to do this and do that? Because I'm starting putting money to the side. So then it started like paying off bills, doing all these different things. So when he started seeing the benefit of it, it wasn't that I was taking away anything from him, like his masculinity or anything like that. It was that he realized that, okay, you're more focused and paying more attention and better with managing the money. It doesn't make him less of a man because he is giving me more of his paycheck, because like I said, it was a sole provider, and just divvying out the way it need to go, because then he starts seeing the benefit of it. Then he started looking at his credit score going up because stuff being paid off, then able to buy a house, like all those different things. So the woman, I'm not, like, me as a woman wasn't taken from him. Now there was times and it was like the way I would say certain things and do different things would make him feel that way. So I had to back up a little bit and actually hear and listen to him.
Tone is everything.
Yes.
Please be careful how you let things roll off of your tongue, because you can shut down real quick. He or she will shut down extremely fast by the literal way that you say something. And it will allow them it causes them to not be as open-minded, depending, like, she has the best way of explaining it as far as like the different ways that she needed to talk to me or approach me with certain things. And instead of being like, you don't need to spend it, she'd be like, sweetie, baby, can we just like scale back on a few things? It's all about how you approach it.
And so that's like one of the gender roles that, as far as me as a woman and him as a man being a sole provider, like, don't step to me and be asking me about money, but then he's starting to see the benefit. Like, that's the balance, finding that balance of knowing that I'm not taking nothing from him. It's still in the house. I'm not taking away any of him being a man, a strong, independent man. I'm not taking anything from him. Is that we are working together. And sometimes you have to just like let it go, like that pride, like let it go. Like, it's not about you being a man. It's not about me trying to smash you and all this other stuff. It's nothing about that.
As long as she's not coming home with Louis Vuitton and Gucci purses and stuff like that, the occasional Coach purse, we're good.
And that's, but and that was a good thing too, because like I would tell him, like, if I was going to go out and just spend money on something expensive, that was something that we would talk about. I wouldn't just go out and just be like, and leave us hanging.
I did.
Yeah. But, it was just all about that conversation. So our gender roles or genders didn't necessarily play a big role of taking care of our house together, assisting together, and providing together. It just allowed us to work closer to our goals and get there faster. But like I said, that's what worked for us. And
sometimes you have to, I mean, there's also not just those type of gender roles, but there's gender roles with your children also. Like, usually the dad, for the most part, is the, what do you call the one who is the, oh my goodness, why is it? I don't know. The disciplinarian, there it is. We're usually the disciplinarian. And, there came a time in my life when we were, when my oldest kids were younger, and I just kind of got to the point because I felt like I was always the bad guy. And I was. And it was like, oh my God, like I do not want my kids to hate me just because I have to be the one to straighten them up. Because my wife would be like, go talk to your dad, you know? And then I'm like, at one point I was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm done. I literally washed my hands. I told her, I was like, babe, I'm not about to do it because I don't want my daughters hating me or my sons hating me because of always being a disciplinarian. So when I gave the reins to her, not that she didn't discipline them anyway.
Right. It was pretty much like on those days when, like, especially during the summertime, everybody is home.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, I don't talk to you all day. I don't took phones away, TV away, you in the corner, toy, like everything. And it's like, mama done headed up to here. Mama tired. Mama gonna wait till daddy come home.
You know the difference between mama and daddy, though? Let me tell you the difference between mama and daddy. Daddy was always the bad guy anyway. Mom, they'd be like, ooh, they'll be mad for the time being, but then they'll be running like, hey, mom, blah, 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 blah. And then they'll be looking at me across the room like, I'm like, for real though? Like, I didn't even say anything. So, you know, and I used to say that I'm not your friend, I'm your father. Well, it takes on a different weight when you actually do become friendlier. You're not necessarily like, oh, I'm your friend, you can do the same thing with me that you do with your friends. No.
Boundaries.
But yes, you set boundaries, but you're friendly. And you know what? It's made such a beautiful impact on my relationship with our children.
Yeah.
And, you know, especially like my baby girl, because it's like we be having fun and she don't even realize it at the time because she be like, nah, I'm a mama's girl. But then we be still kicking it sometimes and she be like, oh, we did do that.
Yeah. So gender roles, I mean, like with that, like my husband says, like that softer side. So you don't have to be a punk or feel like you weak just because you might be, you know, take your daughters out or watch a little girly movie or something like that with your daughters. I went to go
see Dora with my daughter.
Or like even watching like girl flicks sometimes with me. And it's like, it doesn't make him less of a man.
Makes me sleepy.
Yeah. But I mean, it doesn't make him less of a man, even if he's showing his feelings. And that was another thing in our relationship, was him being vulnerable and open and maybe like shed a tear, depending on what the situation is. So, you know, I had issues with that. And I'm like, it's okay to cry. It's okay to express how you feel. It's okay. It's okay. Like, nah, you know, like suck it up. And then he started like implementing that within the boys. But I don't know. It was like, it was a switch at one point. Like it just switched where it was like, he realized that him being open and vulnerable, it took a situation for him to open up and to be vulnerable. And he didn't feel like, I don't know, I shouldn't speak for him. I felt like he at that moment, he felt like it didn't make him less of a man, but it allowed him to be better, a better person, where he has that soft spot, but he still got that, you know, that tough spot. And it didn't take nothing from him, but allow him to release like pressure and tension off of him of all these emotions that he had been feeling and suppressing for so long. Yeah. And he realized that it's okay for me to cry. It's okay for my boys to see me cry and not so much like suck it up. But you know, at times, you know, little boys, you know, they may cry and you like, suck it up, shut up, like get up.
And just so y'all know, it ain't like I just be boo-hooing off of anything.
Right, no. You know, it was like something that, you know, really happened. I'm not
about to watch a movie and be like, can you pass the tissue?
Right. But it was something that, you know, that was very traumatic that happened.
It was personal.
Yeah.
You know, and it was something that, you know, we have to raise our kids differently than a lot of times what we were raised as. You know, I grew up in a 2-parent home and I had both my parents, but I didn't see what was considered that, you know, Huxtable type or the Cosby Show type family. No, he had a Johnson household. So, you know, our Johnson household is different. because we found a better balance. We found a better way. And that's to just love each other, lean on each other when one of us needs it. And honestly, you know, I gotta have that male bravado, because I want her to know that no matter what, I want you to be able to lean on me. I will pick you up if you need me to, and carry you wherever you need me to carry you to, because I need you to know that I got you. And that's the thing. So the gender roles, regardless of whatever role you play, let your spouse know that they got you or you have them, because that's where the cement get you together and hold you tight. Because I know nowadays she knows that I'm here. She knows I'm not going nowhere. She knows that if you see this smile on her face, I will do anything to put that smile there, even if it's go to Wisconsin to get her a real cheesecake.
Oh, wow. I haven't tried that one yet, but okay.
Please don't.
So I love it. I love that we don't have that gender role type stereotype, I should say, or traditions where it's okay if he opens up my car door.
I do it occasionally. I'm not doing it all the time, though.
Like, this is my take on it. It's like, if I'm getting to the car before he gets to the car, I don't want to be standing there in the cold or in the heat or just standing there waiting for him to open up the door. I'm comfortable opening up the door myself and closing it.
But if I do it, I
and
usually scoop my boot to get there before she do.
I'm just like, oh, okay. You know, even if we sit down for dinner, most of the time when we out to dinner, he does push in my chair, pull it down and push it in. But if he doesn't, hey, I'm hungry. I'm just trying to sit down and I'm just trying to eat, okay? So
that's
it ain't no big deal.
Move too.
Yeah, and it's like, So it's like, I'm cool with that. That works for me. That works for us.
Yeah.
I don't need all of that. But when it comes to doors and stuff, most definitely open up the door going into a store or something like that. He always opening up the doors and I always duck. He's like 6'3". I'm sorry, 6'3". And I'm like 5'3".
She has no reason to duck.
Yeah, I have no reason to duck, but I do it all the time. But it's okay, you know. It works for us, and it's it's times where I joke with her, and I'm just standing outside the car, and I'm like, wait for him to open up the door. And
I'll be like, "What you want?"
But it's just something that we joke about. This is something that we, certain things that we do to keep our marriage going and keeping that fun and that little spunk in our marriage. So that works for us. But make sure that, like I said, that's something that you're willing to, do. And sometimes you can mold that guy to do that by giving him cues. And he may say, hey, I'm cool with that. I'm cool with opening up the doors for you. I'm cool with, pushing in the chairs, doing all that stuff for you. I don't mind doing it. And it might be a female, as we talked about earlier, where, she's like, I don't mind staying at home. I don't mind if you going out, you being a provider. But I'm so glad that it did give us a chance, like us growing up, to see that both parents working. Sometimes they, it might have been not one working. Like my mom, she was, majority of the time, she was a stay-at-home mom, or she did daycare in her home. So my dad worked outside. So he was like old school. He was just like, I go to work, I provide, you stay at home, you take care of the house. So that's where that came in, where my mom was more of the dominant person because she was taking on everything else at the home. My dad was like, look, I'm cool. So I'm glad we was able to see that, because as a woman, it pushed me to see that I can do certain things. I remember when I was always in the office, working in the office somewhere, whether it was customer service or in the office, like administrative type work. When I told my husband, like, I'm about to just pick up a job at a temp agency doing manufacturing. So I've never done it in my life. I've only seen it on TV, and I'm just like, but I can do this. Like, I felt like I can do this. Like, I'm that one that likes to be challenged. And my husband kept saying manual labor, like, babe, that's totally different from just working in the office and doing mental stuff. He was like, manual labor is gonna, like, break your body down, all this other stuff. Well, let me tell you, I lasted there for 7 years, and I gave them the paper because I went off and started my own business, right? So it allowed me to see that I can be pushed to a certain limit. Like, I didn't know like what I can actually do if I didn't necessarily try to do it. Like, I could have just been like, no, I'm not going to do it. But because I've seen both parents work and kind of push and work towards goals, it didn't make me afraid to step out. And I don't feel like it made him feel like that I was taking anything from him as far as being a man to say, hey, babe, you know, can I help out? Like, I want to help out. I want us to reach our goals quicker to get a little bit more money and go do this and do it together. So like we said, that worked for us.
But it was rough to actually watch her do that. Because she ended up in a lot of pain at some certain points. And then she was, I mean, this is my soldier right here. Like, for real, she is no joke. I mean, she was working 12-hour days. And then on top of that, she went back to school.
Yeah.
And you know, she still had to run kids here and there because of the shift that I was working. I was working third shift. So it made it rough. It really did. And you know what? That's why gender roles for us are a thing of the past. There is no such thing as a gender role. Obviously, I am the man. Obviously, she is the woman.
Yeah.
But other than that, when it comes to how the house is ran and how things are dealt with, it's a together thing. So, you know, I don't know how the gender roles go in your house, or even if you do have gender roles, or, you know, I just don't know what your mindset is about gender roles. But this is something that you might want to have a conversation with your significant other about, especially if there's something that you want to do with your future. And even if not, just sit down and talk about it and gain some perspective of each other's feelings. You know, of like, do you need help with what you're doing? Like, ask your wife or your husband that stay at home, is there anywhere that I can help? You know what I do, you know how much I work, and I'm still willing to do whatever it takes to make sure that you are not overloaded, because I know that you do so much. Yeah. Make sure that they know that they're appreciated.
Yeah, it doesn't take anything from you just to say, babe, how was your day at home with the kids? Can I take the kids outside? You know, can I take them to the room just so you can get that break? Like, it doesn't take anything from you for being a man. It's just showing. Like, when he would come home, he would ask me those things, or he would take him go get ice cream and stuff like that.
She'd be like, oh, shoot, yeah, I get time to myself.
Yeah, but then it made me appreciate and love him even more, because I'm like, he been outside of work, you know, working, and then, you know, I'm at home. He don't know what I'm really doing unless I'm telling him, or he sees certain things, you know, maybe cleaned up. But for him to even know that I'm working hard, it lets me know that he knew I was working hard, and this is hard work. So coming and asking me, you know, how was your day, and taking the kids out. So even time to time, do that. It's all about balance.
And I know, sacrifice.
Yes, it's about balance. And like my husband said, sacrifice. But when you have that, so you got to do the communication part. Communicate ahead of time. Don't look, if they are strong.
Don't wait till after you marry.
Yeah, if they're strong on it, like if the woman is strong on it, like, I want to be a stay-at-home mom. Like, I don't want to work outside the home. This is what I want to do, or I just want to be a stay-at-home wife. Or if she's saying, I want to go to school, I want to work, I want to have a career and doing my thing. Don't allow them to compromise on that, and you don't compromise on that. Or if the male is saying, hey, this is what I want. This is what I want in a wife. I want her to be at home. You know, I want her to do this. I want her to cook, clean. I want 3 meals a day, blah, 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 and this and that. Or if he's saying, hey, we're going to do this together. Like, you're going to have to go out there and go work. You have to have this conversation ahead of time.
It'd be lovely to get some feedback from y'all, because, I mean, what if the man says, I don't want to work. I want to be a stay-at-home dad. Conversation for real at the beginning. But that's a conversation you got to have.
So, I mean, you got to, as we talked about even at the beginning, is that you have to be honest with yourself and honest with your partner. Don't just be sitting there like, yeah, you know, I can do this. And then you sitting at home and you frustrated, or you outside of work and you frustrated because your mindset.
Venting to people that don't need to hear it.
Hate your job. You coming home because that don't do nothing but just lead to resentment for your marriage, for your spouse or your partner.
And be careful who you vent to, because you might see somebody try to swoop up your better half because
that's true.
You up there venting to the wrong person.
That's true. That's a whole nother story though. Yes, a whole nother topic. Okay. But just making sure you're being honest. Make sure it's already on the table. Make sure this is something that you're going to be committed to and you're comfortable with it. Comfortable and content. When you're content with, you're not trying to change it. You just like, okay, you may improve some things like, maybe I can do this. Maybe I can do that. Maybe go volunteer a little bit. Maybe I can go whatever. But making sure you have that. And whatever works for you, that works for you. As we said, not having gender roles or going traditional gender roles of as far as the woman staying at home and the man providing. Hey, we both provide and we both assist.
And make sure that, please don't get irate. If somebody chooses to change their mind, they have that right. So if she no longer wants to be a stay-at-home mom, just be like, okay, I support you. It's about compromise. It's about sacrifice. It's about love. And that's all it boils down to. If you love someone, you'll be willing to compromise. You'll be willing to sacrifice. Just make sure it's not, like ridiculous, like, oh, I need you to quit your job and stay home while I go and take over this role. Like, no, be smart about it. So with that said, everybody, we love you so very much. We thank you so very much for tuning in again. Make sure you tune in to us every Monday at
noon Eastern time.
Friday at
10 a.m. Eastern time.
On PGN TV now. Thank you so very much. We love y'all.